The Las Vegas Raiders went through the 2023 NFL Draft without addressing all of their needs. In my last video, I talked about the possibility of the Raiders addressing their needs from within, developing players so they can step their games up and take on these roles. That just might be what they're doing with some of their positions, but maybe not all of them. It's possible, and I do have a feeling that the Raiders aren't done adding players to their roster. There's some talent out there in them streets still, and I'm not talking about undrafted free agents. The Raiders just restructured edge rusher Chandler Jones' contract to save $5 million, leaving them a little more than $7 million in cap space. Could another restructure be coming, and who's out there for the Raiders? The Raiders did draft corner Jacorian Bennett in the 4th round. He feels more like a speedy slot corner to cover the speedy slot receiver the NFL is starting to use to me, though. So I still wonder if the Raiders plan to address the outside corner position. Rock Ya-Sin played pretty well for the Raiders last year, and he's still out there on the streets. He's really good in press man, too. In man coverage last year, he gave up catches only 40% of the time he was targeted, no touchdowns, and a passer rating of 50.3. Tyler Hall was quiet to find last year. He gave up catches 50% of the time he was targeted for no touchdowns and a passer rating of 56.3. Brandon Facyson, among others, was brought in to compete with Hall to start opposite Nate Hobbs. So what happened with Ya-Sin? Does he want more than the Raiders and the rest of the NFL market are willing to give him? He is unsigned. Is he willing to wait for a training camp injury so he can get something closer to what he wants? Is he the guy the Raiders are clearing cap space for, or is Marcus Peters a factor here? Unless Amari Burney is a big-time steal the Raiders took in the 6th round, they need to address the linebacker position too. They need linebackers that can cover. The Raiders were bad against the pass last year because they had corners that were good in man and not so good in zone, while they had linebackers that were decent in zone and not so good in man. So no matter what the Raiders ran, the opposing team was going to find something they liked. Robert Spillane and Devon Diablo are still young, and they can develop their coverage skills, but do you want to depend on that as soon as this year? I didn't think so they got to find at least one linebacker that's good in coverage right now. So who's out there that the Raiders can bring in? Oh, there's a guy named Kyle Van Noy that's played in the New England Patriots defensive system before, so he'll know defensive coordinator Patrick Graham's defense. It would be similar to Jimmy Garoppolo coming into play in head coach Josh McDaniels' offense. The Raiders were talking to him for a minute last offseason before he went to the Los Angeles Chargers, and they talked to him this offseason. Could he be the one the Raiders are clearing cap space for? We all know the offensive guard position is a mess for the Raiders right now. In the last video, I said they might and should be thinking of moving right tackle Jermaine Luminor to guard and slide Thayer Munford in at right tackle. The new regime loves Munford, but what if they don't love him enough to start him this year and they want to leave Luminor at right tackle? The Raiders can't have Alex Bars at one of the guard spots, so they have to bring someone in. I know some are excited about undrafted free agent McClendon Curtis coming in, but I don't know if I want to depend on an undrafted free agent to save my offensive line. I really like DJ Fluker though. He's been a beast in this league before and talked to the Raiders this offseason after he showed up at Alabama's Pro Day. He really looked good and was in shape at that Pro Day. His weight was a ripped 330 pounds. He kind of looked like one of those WWE wrestlers. But a guy like Fluker with Bricio and the Raiders could really have something. Fluker was actually on the Raiders practice squad for a minute in 2021, but you know how then offensive line coach Tom Cable is. You gotta be an underwear model to play for him. The Raiders now have $7 million in salary cap space. They haven't signed the draft class of 2023 yet, but Chandler Jones restructured for a reason. So are more restructures on the way? Is Hunter Renfrow going to get traded? Something's going to happen, right? There are still some guys out there in free agency, and I'm not talking about undrafted free agents that fit the Raiders and who really helped them this season. And I just named 3 of them, so what do you think? Do you think Ya-Sin can help in coverage? How about Van Noy at linebacker? And how about Fluker on the offensive line? If not one of them, who? Thank you for watching. See you next time.